Hey guys, it's Margaret. We're at the end of October and sadly the days are only gonna get shorter from here. But that also means that we'll have more time to view the stars. I always remember growing up in Wisconsin, I would go camping out in the woods and I'd be able to go stargaze all night, and it just brings back so many wonderful memories. So I wanted to create an entire monthly setup dedicated to astrology, which is what I'm gonna show you in this video. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to 17's YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any of our future bullet journaling tips and tricks. Okay, let's get started. For this monthly setup, I chose to use the month of November, but really you can use this theme for any month. I also decided to feature all of the zodiac signs, but not their actual star configuration. I made my own icons and connected the stars using lines. To begin this spread, I wrote out November, but you can write out whatever month you're using, in the middle of the spread in a bold script font. Then I lightly sketched out each zodiac symbol in a constellation design. I added small circles all across the spread and colored all of those dots and the dots connecting the lines of the zodiac symbols with a bright yellow marker. I finished off this opener by highlighting all of the zodiac symbol lines with a light blue marker. I really feel like constellation illustrations are really easy and forgiving to draw, which makes them great for bullet journalers of all levels of expertise. When I was little and back home in Wisconsin, camping in the woods, I just remember gazing up at the night sky and thinking how huge it was. I really wanted to replicate that feeling of vastness in my bullet journal for this monthly spread. So the best way I know how to do that is by flipping the journal so that I'm using as much space as possible. First, I flipped my journal vertically and drew 5 rows of circles that are 2 boxes wide and 5 boxes apart. Then, I connected the circles to create 30 boxes that are 5 boxes wide and 7 boxes tall. I colored in each circle with the same blue marker I used on the opener and wrote the number of the day of the month. I highlighted the top of each box with the same yellow marker as I used on the opener and wrote the day of the week above each column. At the very bottom of this spread, I drew 2 boxes with a dimension of 17 boxes wide and 6 boxes tall. I left the top right of the box unfinished so I could draw a rounded rectangle and color it in with a blue marker. I also highlighted the top of each box like I did with the calendar. Then, I labeled one box Notes and the other Goals. To finish off this spread, I wrote November at the very top of the spread in a bold script font. But remember, you can write out whatever month you're using. I accessorized the page with the same zodiac symbols throughout the entire spread. Moving on to the weekly. I'm gonna make this weekly design a little bit more minimal than my previous weekly designs because I'm gonna give each day a large chunk of space instead of breaking up the spread into tons of small compartments. This way, I'll have tons of space to write reminders and notes for each day of the week. To start, I drew 7 horizontal lines about 10 boxes apart from each other. I stopped each horizontal line 10 boxes from the left of the page and drew a rectangle box that was 10 boxes wide and 2 boxes tall. I colored each rectangle in with the same blue marker I've used on the previous spreads and wrote the day of the week in a cursive font in each. At the top of the left page, I wrote November in a bold script font and the numbers of the days of the week this spread is covering. Around them, I drew more of the zodiac constellations featured in the previous spreads and colored them in. To finish off this spread, I wrote the number for each day of the week below the rectangle boxes in a large Art Deco style font. I love how this design turned out. The large Art Deco numbers make this page pop without making it look messy. While clouds aren't exactly astrological elements, they still exist in the sky, so I'm making an exception for them. And because they're so easy to draw, it makes them easy to recreate 30 times, which is what I'm doing for this mood tracker. The first thing I did was sketch out 30 clouds across both of my pages for this spread. I outlined them with a black micron and highlighted the inside of each with a blue marker. Then, in the bottom left corner of each cloud, I labeled each with the number of the day of the week. Next, I wrote Mood Tracker at the top left of the spread in the same bold script font I've used in all of the previous spreads. To the right of my title, I drew a box for my mood key. In this box, I drew 6 different smileys to represent 6 different emotions, but you can substitute any emotions you want to use with these 6. To finish off this spread, I drew small circles all around the clouds and gave them a drop of color using my yellow marker. To use this spread, I'm going to give each cloud a smiley from the key I created that corresponds to the emotion I'm feeling that day. This spread is going to be super helpful to see how my mood fluctuated over the course of the month. For this habit tracker, I'm going to be using several mini calendars to track my different habits. And I know I usually make my mini calendars very small, but this time I'm going to make them a little bit larger and give them some extra breathing room. To begin, I drew 8 boxes that were 14 boxes wide and 13 boxes tall, making sure to leave the middle of the top line open so I have room to draw my labels. At the top of each box, I drew a rounded rectangle that was 2 boxes tall and colored them in with my light blue marker. In each of the rectangles, I wrote the habit I wanted to track, so for this spread, I decided to log how much I was flossing, cleaning, eating healthy, exercising, taking my vitamins, using social media, drinking enough water, and volunteering. But feel free to replace these habits with ones that you'd rather track. I gave each box a drop shadow using a purple marker and filled the center of each box with a mini calendar, giving the days of the week a highlight with my yellow marker. To finish this off, I wrote habit tracker at the very top of the spread and accessorized the spread with the same zodiac constellations and stars I've used in previous spreads. To use this spread, I highlighted each day of the month that I practiced each habit with a circle using a purple marker. Just like the moon, I go through different phases and habits. So this is a great spread to have to know how frequently I practice each one. Since I'm using an astrology theme, I wanted to create a spread that tracks the phases of the moon. So for this last spread, I'm gonna be charting the moon phases for an entire year and include a little key for myself that explains what each phase means. The first thing I did was write the numbers 1 through 30 on the left-hand side of the page and the abbreviation for each month of the year horizontally across the top of the page. Next, I wrote moon phases at the top of the page using a bold script font and highlighted the abbreviations for each month of the year using the same purple marker I used in the last spread. Towards the right of the graph, I drew 6 circles and labeled each with a phase of the moon. There are actually more than 6 stages of the moon, but I'm only going to include 6 because I really don't want this chart to get overly complicated. To finish off the key, I colored in each of the moons to correspond to the phase of the moon cycle they were labeled with. Lastly, I decorated the spread with circles and colored them in with yellow. To use this spread, every time the phase of the moon changes, I'll make a note of what day it changed by locating that day on my chart and making a circle. Then I'm going to match what I see in the sky with one of the phases in my key and color in the circle with a corresponding amount of black. By the end of the year, you'll be able to see how the moon phases changed. While this chart might not be super useful or applicable to anything in your daily life, astrology is pretty darn cool, and this chart at the end of the year is going to make a beautiful pattern in your bullet journal. Well, that's it for this astrology-themed monthly setup. I really hope that this video left you with tons of inspiration and maybe even a new desire to gaze up at the stars. And now that you've seen this astrology theme, I want to know what theme you guys want me to try out next, so make sure you comment below. Before you test out this new theme in your bullet journal, make sure you subscribe to 17's YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any of our future creative and organizational tips and tricks. See you next week.